Is it possible to commit a crime if you're asleep? This is Christina Williams with Just Criminal Law.
And David Mann, legal storytelling specialist. Okay, that is a pretty interesting lead-in. Charged with a crime when you're asleep? How is that possible?
Well, it happens. It's not something that you see all the time. And in my career of 2 decades, I've only seen it 2 times. But the case that kind of is the landmark decision here involved a son-in-law who was charged with murder for killing his father-in-law. And it happened a long, long time ago, and he had to go to trial on it. But he proved that he was in this parasomnic state that people will sometimes end up in when they are sleepwalking. So everybody's heard of sleepwalking, but if you can sleepwalk, you can certainly commit a crime while you're asleep. And he actually left his house, walked to his in-laws, and savagely stabbed and killed his father-in-law in front of his mother-in-law. And the mother-in-law knew that he was completely out of it, that he was asleep, and, instantly knew the moment that he woke up. He was absolutely horrified at what he had done and had absolutely no memory of it. And so that was the first case that really is on the books, that the defense attorney was allowed to bring what they call an automatism defense. We don't need to get into that, but that's specifically, you have to notice that up if you're going to bring it up in trial, because it's going to require the prosecution to prepare to answer this defense. And so during my time as a criminal defense attorney, I actually had 2 cases walk through the door within months of each other. Now, these cases involved what's the phenomenon called sexsomnia, and that's where somebody acts in a sexual nature or has sex, and again, it's while they're asleep. They have no recollection of it. It's like sleepwalking. They are doing it, but their mind and their body are not together on it.
Wow. Okay, so this brings to mind the sort of 3 levels of sleeping that I know from having an Oura ring. Many people probably do. And I think what it is you have sort of like light sleep, and you also have REM sleep where you dream. And then you have the lowest level is the deep sleep where your body recharges and things like that. Is that the state that they're in when they do this?
Right, so they're not really in one of those sleep cycles. You're absolutely right. And as I was preparing for this case and meeting with my sleep expert, I read a book that had a really good example or illustration of your sleep cycles. So it's just imagine you're riding an elevator as you're sleeping, and you're passing up and down through different floors, entering into different sleep cycles. So when you're in this state of sleepwalking or automatism or this parasomnic state, you are actually stuck in between floors in your sleep cycle. So you're about to reach that bottom cycle, so to speak, that deep sleep where you're paralyzed, you can't hear anything, you can't move your body, and it's quite an interesting state to be in. But you're almost there, but you still can move your body. So you have your brain, you can't hear anything if somebody tries to wake you up, but you can move. And you can act out these acts. And with my 2 clients, they were accused of, this inappropriate or this touching that was not consensual, and we had to get a sleep expert on board and have them examined. Now, in the one case where I would say we had the most success, he had a history of, this sexsomnia that his wife just said, yeah, this is something he does all the time, in fact, and he has no recollection of it. and he had sleep apnea. He even had narcolepsy. So he had all these compounded medical issues, and he really was just exhausted all the time. And so when this particular act occurred, he had absolutely no recollection. He confessed it to his wife, and his wife, knew that he was telling the truth because she'd experienced it. And so he said, I need to go and find out from a medical doctor what is going on here with me. And so they sought that diagnosis, and we even sent them to the premier expert in the country, and really helped him understand what was going on. And so once we had all of that prepared and the report put together, we shared it with the prosecutor, and it was very, very compelling. And so we were able to get a deal. He didn't want to put the alleged victim through a trial. That would be traumatic in and of itself. He and his wife agreed. And so the prosecutor made an offer we couldn't refuse, and even though we were all teed up to go to trial, we ended up taking a deal that allowed him to get through probation and get the case dismissed and get this whole thing behind him.
Wow. Okay. Well, that is a type of crime I don't think I've ever heard of before. Both of these that you...
Right. And then we had the other one that I don't want to forget to talk about, David, and that was at the same time we had the same set of circumstances. The only thing different was client number 2 had been drinking that night. And so our sleep expert, our medical expert, could not say with a medical degree of certainty that it was a purely sex-somnic event. And so we were able to still get a really good deal because there was a little bit of mixed opinions there. The state also hired an expert who believed, our client did fit the criteria. So we had, 2 different experts who would give conflicting testimony. And so with that in mind, again, we got a really good deal, but we didn't get as good of a deal as the first client because he had been drinking, and we couldn't say with a medical degree of certainty that he was in fact completely involved in this automatism or this automatistic state.
That's it. It really is a type of thing I can't remember ever hearing about before. But what I'm also hearing in this is that when someone comes to you, you're going to have knowledge and resources and find out about possible motives and reasons for crimes that might not have even occurred to the client themselves. So that's a pretty good service. How does someone get a hold of it?
Sure. We'll include a link in the description where they can call, text, or chat with a member of my team anytime, day or night. Here at Just Criminal Law, we know you only get one shot at justice, so make yours count.